Today, we are going to be answering the age-old question, which one is better for plowing snow, the diesel or the gas? And I'm going to make this video real short and easy for you. The gas engine is overall better for plowing snow. And I think a lot of us already know that. It's known in the industry. Whenever you see plow trucks out there, big companies with multiple trucks, you typically see gasoline powered trucks because they're cheaper, they're easier to scale. You can buy 4 gasoline trucks versus 2 diesels. They're a lot more affordable, and at the end of the day, the gasoline truck is better for the bottom line. But that's where it gets a little bit controversial, because at the end of the day, the diesel is better at plowing snow. It's better for pushing snow. It's a heavier engine. It weighs 800 pounds more, give or take. In the case of Fords, at least, they typically weigh about 800 pounds more. That's 800 more pounds of just momentum that's pushing your snow for the same package. And on top of that, you have the added torque. You got more weight over the front axle, so more traction on the front axle, and you're going to be plowing in 4-wheel drive. And like I said, the extra mass. And 800 pounds is a significant amount of mass to actually consider when you're pushing snow. So more torque, more not so much more power, not more horsepower, but more torque and a lot more mass, and will push harder. So the diesel technically does push the snow better than a gas, even though it's marginal. You don't really notice it too much, especially with today's modern gasoline engines. In this case, it's the 7.3 liter gasoline engine from Ford. Came out, I think, in 2020. This is a 22 model year, but this gasoline engine at 375 foot-pounds of torque, or no, is it 475 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. It doesn't have any issues pushing any snow that we've pushed with our 10-foot plow. It seems to do just fine, even though it's not as powerful as a diesel. Now, in our case, we like our 450 because it's got not only the diesel engine, but it's got the better suspension. But it really does make me wonder, if this truck had the 7.3 in it, how would it perform? Now, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to plowing with the diesel. Some of the cons I've noticed is, with the big plow in front of the radiator, the diesel overheats and it needs the fan clutch to kick in. It's not like the truck can't handle it, but the fan clutch has to kick in and it roars and it makes a lot of noise. And the gasoline, on the other hand, it really never has the fan clutch kicking on. Maybe once, like a season, for certain conditions, but 90% of the time, 99% of the time, you never have a fan clutch. The engine never gets hot, and the engine really doesn't get cold. And now with our 7.3, this engine's big and it doesn't work as hard as the 6.2. We had a 6.2 liter gas for that before this one. It doesn't work as hard, and I noticed that, like, on real cold days, the engine did run a little bit cold, and it didn't heat up as good, and it didn't keep as good HVAC heat. Maybe one time last year when plowing, when it got real cold. Compared to the 6.7, it always is hot enough, or like a little too hot, and the radiator fan's actually turning on and cooling off the engine, specifically when the radiator is blocked. Now, what's interesting about the diesel is it runs hot, real hot, good heat, everything like that, when it is driving down the road. But if it stops and idles, then it runs too cold because it doesn't make enough heat at idle to be happy. So there's that. And then also, the maintenance on the diesel is absurd nowadays. The oil life monitor on this truck goes freaking crazy when you're plowing snow and you're putting in a lot of hours. It's like, bro, change the oil. Now, I know with the 23s, they talk about the new added capacity of oil and you could get 15,000 miles and all this. But the oil life monitor on this thing, when you start plowing snow, it starts losing its mind. And it's like, change the oil, change the oil. You could be in the middle of a storm and it could be at 5% oil life and then it can go down to zero. And it's like, change the oil. And you can't ignore it because it's like these vehicles now are connected all into the internet and into the web and all this, so Ford knows if you don't change the oil based on oil life monitor. And to be honest, I probably voided my warranty anyway just from this last couple snowstorms because middle of the storm I didn't know what to do. I'm tired. I should have probably just reset the oil life monitor just so the system kind of knew that, just to fool the system. But I mean, I drove it for like, I don't know, a couple hours with the oil light on. Change the oil light, not the oil pressure light, but just change the oil life monitor. So the maintenance, when you start plowing with the diesel, the oil life monitor takes that into account, and you're not getting 15,000 miles on that oil no more. It knows and it takes into account. Whereas the gas engine, for whatever reason, the oil life monitor on this gasoline truck hasn't gone off. It hasn't told me to change the oil all winter, and it doesn't seem to mind. At least from the computer standpoint, it doesn't seem to mind that you're plowing snow and that you're under those low speed conditions. With the diesel, they don't like that. At least Ford's algorithm for the oil life, it doesn't like that. So then again, you're in this more expensive vehicle and you have to change the oil way more when you're plowing snow. And you're talking 16 quarts of oil and all this stuff, and you really can't be messing around and cheating because you got a warranty to think about. So yeah, you've got that little bit of a issue. Like, the maintenance on this thing is real high when you're plowing snow, and it just goes nuts. Now, if you're driving over the road, I suspect you can get a lot of miles out of your oil, but the oil life monitor isn't going to let you plow that much snow without having to maintenance the oil. So that's a big con. So aside from that, some of the pros with the diesel would be you can freaking put fuel in this. This is a 48-gallon tank. The diesels typically have bigger tanks or options for bigger tanks or aftermarket options, even for like 60-gallon tanks or whatever. And it is kind of a convenient thing to not have to stop at a fuel station, knowing that you can fill this truck up and it can be good for 24 hours of work and still have fuel left for more. Like, it can just go a very long time. And it just seems like a lot of the usages with the diesel, it doesn't burn a lot of fuel. Like idling a diesel, although it's not good for a diesel to idle, it doesn't drink a whole bunch of fuel in that course of action. Now, the pulling of weight, you don't hook up to a trailer and think, oh my God, how much fuel do I have? No, you just fill this truck up, 48 gallons, and it's good to go until you pass out somewhere. Like, your waking hours with a full tank of fuel is the limiting factor. In fact, you can run shifts, and we've done this. We've run shifts with this truck plowing snow where it just plows and plows and plows and it keeps going, and then you switch drivers because the truck, with the fuel capacity and all that, it can go so much longer than even the driver can go. And on top of that, we tow a ton of sidewalk equipment, skid steer with snow plowing equipment on it, and this truck can just handle that no problem. The diesel engine up front, the plow on it, loaded with salt. You throw anything that we have a 16,000 pound trailer loaded to the max, payload at the max, everything at the max, and this truck just eats it up no problem. And the gasoline engine, I'm not sure. I think the gasoline engine could do that as well with the 7.3, but the suspension on this and the wheelbase being shorter and not being a dually, that's where this truck definitely cannot do that. It wouldn't be safe. It probably would damage the rear springs or overwhelm the tires or something crazy like that. But the engine, I think, could do it. The 7.3 with the 430 gearing and all that, we don't seem to have any lack of power, really. I mean, it's slower, but it still gets the job done about as safely as you could do it with the gas engine. So it's not so much the engine, it's more the full suspension that we have on this particular truck. Now, would a 7.3 liter be better, the gasoline engine 7.3 liter, be better in this format or even a bigger format like a cab chassis? I think possibly, a cab chassis has at least a 430 gear, maybe lower ratio than that, but a heavier suspension, and that particular setup probably could do, it probably would match this one or be better. So definitely interesting. One thing we noticed with this diesel in this last couple storms, when it got real cold, the power was not there. The fuel, I think, started to gel, and we actually had to put our fuel additive. I forgot to even add this additive, and it started to maybe gel or whatever, but I started to lose power in the real cold. So I realized I need to run this. This is Hot Shot Secrets EDT Winter Defense 7-in-1 everyday diesel treatment. Improves cold starts, prevent fuel from gelling, increases fuel lubricity. Ran this, it worked, and it restored the power that was starting to become a concern. Like, this thing would not accelerate past 65, and you could just tell I'm losing power. So that's something to think about. With the gas, you don't have to think about, but with the diesel, you got to be aware of that. So a lot more things to be aware. The fuel, the water that can be in the fuel, the engine having way more going on where things can go wrong. There's way more coolant passages and things and stuff going on under the hood. As these vehicles age, they have a number of different issues and upgrades and things that can be done under the hood, like the charge pipes, the cold side charge pipes on these go bad. I got a scratch. There's another issue. You get a little scratch on the truck, and you're like, dang, look at that. Just scratched my $100,000 truck. So there's that to think about. The vehicle is more money. The gasoline engine is less money. This engine option is $12,000 at least, maybe more. It's a high output 6.7 versus this one's like a $2,000 engine, and they have a 6.8 that is the current base engine, which would do just fine as well. At the end of the day, if something happens to one of these trucks, an accident or something like that, this gasoline truck might get totaled out before this one, just because the value is up higher. So they might say, hey, we're going to put a new frame in that diesel, or we're going to sit around and fix it for 6-7 months, and you're going to be out of a truck for 6-7 months. Or with the gas engine, they might go ahead and say, hey, that truck's totaled, it needs a frame, get a new truck. So the insurance is going to be higher on the diesel, because the odds of fixing the diesel is going to be way higher, just because the vehicle costs so much more, and it's going to be harder to total the diesel. So that can be either a benefit or a con. It kind of seems like maybe a con, because a lot of people don't want that vehicle that got a new frame or something put in it. But then again, some people do want that, because it's like a sentimental thing when you have a vehicle that costs so much or is that important to you, like a diesel truck becomes. So the gasoline is really, a lot of guys really don't care, and they just run the truck. Those are gas guys. I mean, it's just a tool. But if you're going to get all personal and stuff with the truck, you can do that with the diesel. You can be all personal with the truck. You can modify it. You can put the updates in it. You can change out the fuel filters up top and all the different things that you can do. So if you're into the truck stuff, then I guess the diesel's the option for you, because now you can use it for everything. You can make it your family daily work vehicle that you take a lot of pride in. You do everything in it. You pick up the family, you work, you travel, you go, you put miles on it. If you're going to put the miles on it, then maybe it makes sense. But at the end of the day, you could do that with the gas engine, but you just don't have as much stuff that you can do. You'll be done with it, and you put the tires and stuff on it and whatever, and you're done with it. Versus the diesel, where it's almost endless. You could drop the fuel tank on the diesel and put, this one's got a 48 gallon. You could put a 70 gallon in it. 70 gallon fuel tank. That kind of stuff is fun for a lot of people. You can put a fuel tank on this thing that's got like 1,000+ miles of range, where the gas engine, there's a tank available, but there's like one. With this one, there's like a bunch of companies making fuel tanks, and you can change out the air intake, the intake manifold, the fuel filters, can be cat filters, and all this cool stuff that you can do with the diesel. Is a huge aftermarket for the diesel, where the gas, there's not as nearly as much aftermarket for the gas. It's probably like 10% of what's available for the diesel. So from all practical standpoints, the gas makes perfect sense because it's business savvy move to do. Buy the gas engine, the cheapest one, strip it down, don't really put too many features on it, run it, throw the workers in it, and that's it. That's where the gas shines. You're not going to throw a worker in a diesel, although we do, our guys do run our diesel. They run it. I mean, it's still a tool, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm going to buy a whole fleet of these. That's more where the gas comes in. So all in all, for plowing snow, the gasoline is overall better. But yeah, the diesel does push it a little bit harder. You know, it does push a little bit harder. And it does have its pros. It definitely has its pros. But overall, gasoline for the win. But anyway, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. My name is Sean. This is DS Trucks. If you're looking for some hotshot secrets, my discount code is DS-Trucks, all capital, DS-Trucks on Hotshot Secrets. Save some money. Get their oil. I'm running their Hotshot Secrets 5W30 PAO. I'm kind of on the fence on which one I really want to run long term. I've got the 5W30 in it right now because the cold starts with this stuff is so good. But you could also run the 540, which is also really good oil as well. But the 1030, I'm sorry, did I say 530? It's actually 1030. It's good. You can feel the difference when you accelerate. It's some freaking slick oil. Read everything about this before you get it. I think they say they want you to wait till you have 10,000 miles on your engine and all this fine technical stuff. But it's the only one I think that you'll find a certified PAO synthetic, and they make a ton of these chemicals. Like one product they have called Stiction Eliminator. I believe it's something that cleans all the carbon out of the motor. A lot of people who ran that Stiction Eliminator back in the day with the 6.0 Power Stroke have claimed that it got rid of the injector problems on those trucks because it can clean so well. So anyway, my favorite oil right now is the Hotshot Secrets. We'll see how it goes. We'll do some more testing with it, but the oil analysis that we've done in the past have came back very positive. So DS-Trucks for the discount for that. And if you want to really save, you can combine it with PowerStroke Tech Talk discount at the same time. It'll let you take two discounts together and save a lot of money. And this stuff ends up being cheaper than Motorcraft oil. So take advantage of that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. See you in the next one. Over and out.